The big blue button that you are currently using is just one of the tools that we'll be using to discuss our unit. And we shall, in addition to the big blue button, we shall be having some discussion forums. We shall also be having some chats, which I will be creating after maybe in every topic. And in addition to them, there's still also some pre-recorded audios and videos, and I've already pre-recorded one audio on introduction, and others will be created on topic basis. Then if at any given point you have not had clear, you've not gotten a chance maybe to listen to what we have discussed in our live session in the big blue button, we shall be having the recorded sessions in the big blue button. Maybe like after the class, if you want maybe to recap on what we have discussed, you can still go to the recorded discussions in the big blue button. So that's what we shall be doing, and it's my hope our learning will be smooth and okay. Then I've said I can see Evelyn Jerry has joined. Welcome, Evelyn. Evelyn Jerry. And I'm still saying that if you want to join us on a video, you can still click the webcam icon that is on the bottom of your video. So, and I can see one student has done so. That is Odual Acheng. And though still, if you want to join us on audio, still okay. So that is it. I have given my introduction, I've given my names, I've given the contacts, and that is my phone number. I've given my email, so that if there will be an issue and you want maybe to one-on-one maybe discussion or maybe clarification, you can reach me on through the email address that I've provided above, or you can also use the phone number that I've provided there. This is not a lecture session alone. It will be a normal classroom whereby I'll be expecting each and every one of you will be making his or her contribution on the matters that we shall be discussing in our session. So feel free to ask anything. Feel free to answer the questions that we shall be that I might ask in the course of our discussion. So that is it. And unless maybe someone has a query, we can now go straight to our discussion. Let me now unmute your microphone so that if there is someone who has a question or a query, can raise it. Yes, anyone with a query or a question? And I'm saying, in addition to them to the audio conversation, there's still the public chat that is on your left side of the screen. So you can still use that particular public chat so that maybe you get a clarification or maybe you ask a question. Can we now proceed? Yes, for those I've turned off the mute, so you can now talk. Yes, is there a question or a query? Odual Acheng. Acheng, is there a query on your side? Evelyn, yes, Odual?
Oh, you're normal.
It's okay.
I don't know. I'm okay.
You're okay? What about Dilango Rita? Rita Dilango? Are we together? Are we still together? Leon, I know you've muted your, you've not activated your microphone. Also, Evangel, you've not activated your mic, so I cannot be able to hear from you. Kimemia, Hilda, you've not also activate.
Okay, teacher. Teacher?
Yeah, I can hear.
Teacher?
Yes.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, what is it?
How will you be knowing that the class? I'm asking.
Yeah. Yes, I'm listening.
I'm asking how will you be knowing
Yeah.
that the class register is marked?
Okay, you'll be seeing it. You've seen at the welcome, the welcoming note. There is somewhere I've indicated the class attendance. So in that particular attendance, you shall be seeing me having ticked you either absent or present, and you should be able to check that after the end of this particular session. So based on the people who have logged in and those who have participated in the discussion, I'll be ticking either present or absent.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's
Yes,
now
thank you.
proceed to our introduction. Our first topic is introduction to international trade. And if you look at the topic layout, I've already given some soft copy notes which you should go through. And in addition to the notes, I've also issued a video, a live recording, and I've also attached another video. So you can use those two materials maybe to earn on what we shall be discussing today. So when we talk of international trade, we are talking of a trade between one country and another country, or a trade between one country and group of countries. Like for example, when we talk of a trade between Kenya and other countries like Uganda, Tanzania, that's when you talk of the international trade. Then, and in such a case, that is a trade between one country and another one country. And in that kind of trade, we usually refer to it as a bilateral trade. When you talk of a bilateral trade, this is a trade between two countries. Like I've given the example of Kenya and Uganda, or Kenya and Tanzania. That's when we talk of bilateral trade. Then we have another form of trade, that is a trade between a country and group of countries, like all more than one country. Like for example, when Kenya can be trading with Uganda, can be trading with Tanzania, Rwanda, and maybe America and other countries. So when we talk of such a trade, we'll be talking of international trade. And no, sorry, bilateral trade, form of international trade called multilateral trade, that is between one country and more than one country. That's when we talk of multilateral trade. So a preview on that, we say that international trade can be classified into two: one, bilateral trade; two, multilateral trade. Bilateral trade is a trade between a country and another country. Multilateral trade is a trade between a country and more than one country. So we've got that one. Then we can also classify international trade also based on the type of products that the country is dealing with. Like for example, if a country is dealing with tangible goods like tea, furniture, utensils, such kind of trade, we usually refer to it as a visible trade. We call it visible trade because it is dealing with items that can be touched and which the participating parties can be able to see. That's when you call it a visible trade. Then we have what we call invisible trade. When you talk of invisible trade, this is trade with items that cannot be seen by using the physical hands, but there is a flow of income in that particular trade. Like for example, when you are selling services, like Kenya is a good example. Such a trade, we call it an invisible trade. So know the four classification of trade. One, based on the number of countries that are engaged in. We say that based on the number of countries that are engaged in, we say that the trade can be bilateral, that is when there are two countries engaged. It can be multilateral when there are more than two countries engaged. Then we can also say it is visible based on based on the type of products that are being traded in. And I've said when it is visible, this is when you're dealing with tangible items. It can also be invisible when you are dealing with services like tourism, advertising, and others. So that's when you talk of the classification of international trade. Then when you talk of international trade, it is done with an objective. So let's ask ourselves, or let us try to answer the question: why do we have international trade? Asha Nur, can you hear me? Asha?
Yeah.
Okay, I want you now to tell us why we engage in international trade. One of the reasons why we have international trade. Yes, Asha? Yes, we are listening. Why do you think we have international trade, Asha?
So that we
We,
can transport.
yes, I can't hear you. Okay, seems she's not settled. Dilango Rita, why do we have international trade, or why do countries engage in international trade? Yes,
Can you
Rita?
say to
Yeah,
promote good relations between countries?
not really. That is a benefit. That is a benefit of international trade, but you've tried. Odul Achen, yes, what are some of the reasons according to you, or why do we have international trade? Achen?
Yeah, in building the relationship between countries.
That is still a benefit, but you've tried. Yes. Asha, have you now settled? Okay, let's now move on. I can see Asha has not yet settled. So when you talk of the purposes of having international trade, it's not necessarily the creating the relationship between the trading partners. So the creating relationship between the trading partners comes as a benefit. So, but there are those things that we usually refer to as benefits. Like for example, number one, when we talk of the purpose of having international trade, one is to dispose of the excess production. Like for example, in a country like Kenya, we produce a lot of tea, and this tea cannot be consumed locally fully. So if we say we shall not be selling our tea to China, to Pakistan, to Egypt, and we say we shall all be consuming our tea within the country, the tea will be more than enough for us. So for us to take care of the excess production, we engage in international trade. That is one of the reasons. The other reason why we usually engage in international trade is for us to get some what a country cannot be able to produce. Like for example, when a country like Kenya does not produce commodities like machineries, does not produce uh, items like let's say motor vehicles and other automobiles. So what for us to get what we cannot be able to produce, we engage in what we call international trade. And in other cases, so whatever we produce as a country may be not enough, and therefore we engage in international trade to supplement the local production. Like for example, the sugar in our sugar industry, the sugar that we produce locally, it is not enough to sustain the Kenyan market. And for us, so for us now to have sugar that is enough for both the Kenyans and those who are outside the and for Kenyans, we usually import sugar from other countries. So it is to supplement the local production. Another reason why we engage in international trade is for us to have what we call foreign exchange. So when you engage in international trade, the government usually charges some tallies or some taxes, which we usually call the import duties. And when the government charges these import duties, they will be a source of revenue for the government. And this revenue is the one that government uses maybe to construct roads, to provide services, and others. So those are some of the reasons or some of the purposes of aims of us having international trade. So have you now gotten those ones? Kimemia Hilda, have you gotten those particular purposes? Kimemia Hilda. Kimemia Hilda? Yes, have you gotten them?
Yes.
Okay, so I can see Aswan Boaz is joining. Welcome, Aswan. Dilango Rita, are we still together? Dilango
Yes.
Rita. Yes.
Yes.
Achieng Oduor. Tuko sambaba. Achieng, are we still together? Achieng, I think.
Yes.
Okay, sawa sawa. Aswani Boaz,
I have a question.
welcome. Yes, you have a question? Ask, I'm listening.
I was asking,
You are now unmuted.
Yeah.
can we say that international trade helps in revenue
Ati?
through taxes and paying licenses? Can we
I can't
say
hear you. Yeah.
that we,
I can't hear you.
I'm asking
Mhm.
that, can we say that we engage in international trade to get revenue through paying of taxes?
Yes, that was my
Yes,
last
that
point.
was my last
Point where I said we usually engage in international trade
point where I said
so as to
we usually
raise
engage in international trade so as to
revenue form of taxes. Yes, so that is the point. Is it okay? Okay. So Aswan, Boaz, welcome. Okay, now let us now look at the importances of having international trade. We've seen the purposes or the purpose of having international trade. So let us now ask ourselves, what are now the benefits of international trade, or what do we get from when we engage in international trade? Number one is what Achieng and Rita Dilango had given me. That is, it strengthens relations between the trading partners or countries. Like, for example, when a country like Kenya is trading with another country like China, like United States of America, the relationship between those particular countries is usually enhanced, and we say it is enhanced because of in this manner. Like when you trade with China, we get used to each other, and therefore a cohesive relationship builds up between the trading countries, and therefore such countries cannot go in war with each other. Like, for example, I usually give an example when there was a time when Uganda and Kenya were were having a discussion whether Migingo ni yetu ama ni ya Uganda, and I remember Museveni saying that the Migingo, the rock is yours, but the fish are mine. But this country did not go to war, even if that particular thing would have provoked either Kenya to or Uganda to go into war. What really promoted that is the trading benefit that exists between the two countries. If you have gone to your records well, you have noted that one of the highest or the major trading partner with for Kenya is Uganda. So Kenya would not have provoked Uganda to war because it would have lost. Uganda would not have provoked Kenya to war because it does not have its own water, sea or ocean port. So therefore, it relies on Kenya so that on its imports and export. So that's when we talk of it promotes the relationship. Another benefit that we accrue from when we participate in international trade is that we earn foreign exchange. Yes, when we trade with one country, we say that we shall be charging such countries what we usually refer to as import duties, and from the import duties, a country is able to get the foreign exchange. Then in addition to that, we also have what a country is able to get surplus or what it cannot be able to produce. Like, for example, a country like Kenya is able to get what maybe machines. It's able to get motor vehicles and other items from countries which manufacture them, because we as a country we cannot be able to produce those particular items. So we are saying that it helps the country to get what it cannot be able to get. Then another benefit of international trade is that it creates employment. With this COVID-19 thing, you've seen that most of the affected industry is the horticultural industry, and you've heard most of the investors in that particular industry saying that apart from the losses that they will be incurring as a result of not being able to import flowers to Europe and other countries, there will be a lot of job losses. And when we talk of job losses, they will be lost because there will be no export of flowers to those particular countries that buy the flowers from us. So we say that there is a benefit in terms of export. Another benefit that we usually accrue from international trade is that it provides the consumers with a lot of choices. Like, for example, if you are a person who loves motor vehicles, when we have the international trade, you can either choose to either have a car from Japan, a car from Germany, a car from England, and or maybe a car made from Kenya. So it improves or increases the choice of items from which a consumer can be able to choose from. So that's when you talk of it widens the choice of products that a consumer can have. Another benefit that one gets from international trade is that there is what we refer to as it increases competition. And as a result of increasing the competition, there will be improvement in terms of quality. Imagine a situation whereby Kenya is the only country, we only get products from Kenya. You won't be having you would be having something to choose from. So we'll be having some only products from Kenya that you'll be competing with, no other products that you'll be getting from elsewhere. So, and as a result of that, you will be maybe the products that will be produced within Kenya, they might be of lower quality, and as a result, maybe the consumers will not be satisfied. But because of expansion of international trade, or the presence of international trade in our country, you can be able to choose products that are made from within Kenya based on quality, and those who are not manufactured within Kenya. So we say that it improves on quality. So that's when we talk of that. Then another benefit that exists as a result of international trade is that it helps a country to uh, to sell off its excess production. You remember we say that one of the purpose or one of the objective of international trade is to do away with the excess production. And therefore, when a country engages in international trade, it is able to sell off those products, so that excess production in a country. So those are some of the benefits that accrue from international trade. So I've anybody with a question, and I'll start with Asha Nur. Asha, do you have a question or a point maybe you have, maybe you think you can add? Asha? It seems she's off. Aswan Boaz. Unmute your microphone. Yes?
I don't have any questions, sir.
Or you don't, you are okay? Sawa sawa.
I'm okay with
Then
the explanation.
you're okay. Everin Jerry, I can see your mic is not activated. Activate your mic so that you can be able to talk. Also, Kimemia Hilda, also Mohammed Sahala, activate your mic so that you can be able to have a conversation. Dilango Lita, any question or point that we can add? Dilango Rita?
I don't
Yes,
have any point.
you don't have anything. Okay, I can see. Yes, Kimemia Hilda. Kimemia?
Yes.
Yes, any point or question that you might be having on the part that we've discussed on the importance of
No.
international trade?
No.
There is none. Huh?
Mm.
Okay. Now I want us now I want now to get some of the exports, some of the items that are traded within a country. And before we go to them, I want us to look at two terms that are used in international trade.
Excuse,
Yes, excuse, Sahala.
does it bring good relation between countries?
Yes, that was my first point. That is one of the benefits of international trade.
Okay.
Yes, that is one of the points. Is it okay now, Sahala?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's now look at two terms that are used in international trade. That is exports and imports. When you talk of export, we are talking of items that a country sells to another country or countries. Like for example, when we talk of Kenya's exports, the Kenya's exports are usually tea, coffee, and other raw materials like titanium, soda ash, and others. Those are exports. The items that a country sells to other countries. When you talk of imports, we are talking of items that a country buys from other countries. Like for example, when Kenya usually imports things like lice, machineries, uh, improved or added value products like the proteins and others. So when we be talking of international trade, we'll be basing on those two terms. That's why I had to define them. So because international trade will be a matter of export and import. Yes. Everin Jelly, do you have a point? Or you have a query or a question that you are raising? You're okay. Yeah? So I was saying that so when we'll be talking of international trade, we'll be talking of the
No.
export and
Yes.
import. Yes, and when you talk of the export, I'll say this is what a country sells to another country or group of countries. And when you talk of imports, we are talking of what a country buys from another country. And in these times, these are two terms are very important because when you talk of the strength of a country doing business internationally, it is based on how much exports a country is making and how much imports a country is making. A country that is making more exports than imports, it is said to have an upper hand in international trade. It because it is cash inflow will be more than cash outflow, and therefore that country is said to be doing well in business, in terms of business. Yeah, when you talk of a country having less imports, less exports and more imports, we usually say that such a country has a lower hand in trade. And we say it has a lower hand in trade because its cash outflow are more than the cash inflow. Therefore, for such a country, it is spending more on buying items than it is earning when it is selling its products. And later in the topic, we shall come and we shall okay. Yes, as one.
So would you please repeat that point that you've just said right now, like awareness to the outflow and inflow?
Okay, sawa sawa. So I was saying, when a country has more imports than exports, we say it has a lower hand in trade because the cash that is flowing outside the country, it is more than what is flowing inside the country because imports we pay for them, right? Together, and when we pay for imports, we say that there will be a lot of outflow. Tuko pamoja? And when we talk of export, we are paid, we get some cash. So cash is flowing into the country. Ni kama mtu ambaye akila mara ana shida akitoa pesa kwa mfuko. The outflow will be more than inflow. So mtu ambaye anatoa pesa sana kwa mfuko inamaanisha ya kwamba pesa zake zile zitaachwa kwa mfuko zitapungua ukilinganisha na zile pesa ambazo amepata. Tunaelewana? So that's when we talk of a country is better off when it is exporting more than importing. Kamoja. So a country is better off when it is exporting than when it is importing. So that's when we talk of that. So, and I was saying the reason as to why we'll be talking of this later on in our unit, we shall come and look at something we shall be referring to as terms of trade. And when we talk of terms of trade, we are talking of how a countries relate with each other in terms of business. And we shall be, when we be talking of the terms of trade, we'll be comparing a country's export and import. But because we've not gotten there, we shall not discuss it now, or I shall not preempt that at this particular time. Now, let us now look at what we call the limitation or disadvantages of international trade. Yes, we've given the benefits of this international trade, and we've given what a country gets or what a country achieves as a result of international trade. Are there some limitations in terms of when you talk of international trade? And some of the limitations are one, having different foreign currencies. That's one of the limitations. Like, for example, when we be talking of Kenya and Uganda, we shall be valuing our currency or our product in Kenya shillings. And Uganda will not be, may not have the Kenya shillings. So they will be willing to buy them using the Uganda shillings. So has not sometimes we may not be having accurate exchange rates. And as a result, we might not be able to trade well with the other country. Another disadvantage of this international trade is that it may lead to collapse of the local industries. Like, for example, let's take an example. You remember there was a company called Softer Cola, which was selling some sodas. I think that is in early 2000 there. And then this particular company collapsed. And it collapsed because of a lot of competition from international companies, one of them being Coca-Cola. Kogoro, or Softer Coca-Cola, which was a very young company, was unable to move in with the level or with the pace of Coca-Cola. So, and it is because of the competition that was there between Softer Cola and Coca-Cola that wiped Softer Cola from the market. So we are saying that it may lead to collapse of local industries. Another disadvantage of international trade is that it may lead to what we call dumping off. Dumping off is a situation whereby a country usually disposes its used technology or used item in another country. Like, for example, when we talk of Mituba clothings and some of the motor vehicles, most of those particular items that we buy into the country, like the Mituba clothing, they are disposed into the country after they have been used. That particular way of taking into another country whatever you don't need is called disposing of. It is a disadvantage in this context. Like, for example, if you buy motor vehicles which are very old, it means that we shall be having a lot of air pollution. One, two, there will be a lot of maybe used cars in the country, which we shall not be having a place to dispose them. You get that? So it increases now what we call the waste in the country. So that's when we talk of it may lead to dumping off in a country. The other disadvantage of international trade is that over dependence on one country over dependence of one country on a certain product may lead to shortage, mostly in times of war or when there is a shortage in the country exporting the item. So what we are saying is this: if we depend on a certain country for a certain product, when that particular country is having some shortages, we shall not be having some supply. Like, for example, you remember when there was a lot of war in Iraq, and when the United Arab Emirates was not stable, there was a low supply of crude oil. Why? Because we rely on them for crude oil. If, for example, UAE does not produce a lot of crude oil, it means that Kenya will also suffer because it will not have some place to buy its crude oil. So we are saying that over dependence on a certain country, on a certain product, it may lead to shortages. And sometimes it may be like, no, you can even relate this with what is happening in the country. You've heard the CS of health saying that they are not able to conduct enough tests on COVID or rather COVID tests because there is no enough reagents. Why aren't we having enough reagents? Because we are depending on foreign countries like China, Germany, England, and others to provide us with the reagents. We are not producing them locally. And because there is shortage there, also in the country, we shall also feel the shortage. So that will talk over some of the disadvantages. The other one is that it may lead of too much international trade may lead to unemployment, local unemployment. And why? How is this possible, or how does this one place? Let me give you an example here. We usually buy a lot of products from a Chinese market, and we do buy these products at the expense of local production. So anytime you buy, let's say a matchbox from China, and that same matchbox can be produced or is being produced within the economy, it means that you have given more people in China ability to keep on producing because you are consuming. Because the more you are consuming, the more you are creating the market for those particular products. So it means that a company in China will continue producing its matchboxes, but a company in Kenya will stop producing its product. Therefore, it means that because companies in Kenya will not be producing the matchboxes, a lot of people will be unemployed in Kenya and a lot will be employed in China. Why are those people unemployed in Kenya? Because we are relying on imports from China. So that's when talk of it creating unemployment. So those are some of the limitations that we have when we talk of international trade. And there's another one disadvantage or limitation. It hinders innovation. It hinders innovation. When you talk of international trade, hindering local innovation, and this one is not international innovation, it is local innovation. Like, for example, when we over rely on imports, people investors or inventors within the country at times even fail to come up with new inventions because already they know when I need something like a phone, I can easily get it from China. When I need something like a pencil, I can still get it from another country. Like, let me still go to the crisis that our country is still in. You've seen some companies saying that they can be able to produce ventilators, and these are companies which were still in the country before the COVID did. But because the country was having the comfort that if we need ventilators, we can buy them from Germany, we can buy them from Britain, we can buy them from China, we can buy them from Japan, we can buy them from America. It was like a hindrance to local manufacturers in identifying their ability in producing such a commodity. Are you together? So that's when you say that it may be a source of hindrance. And you can see when COVID came and when it was now the truth, or it was clear that we cannot now import the ventilators because the countries which were selling to us ventilators were still in need of the same ventilators that you don't need to buy from them. So because there was a scarce, people had now to think, and they saw that the products that they were thinking they cannot be able to produce, they can still make it locally. So that's when we say that sometimes international trade may be a hindrance to local innovation or invention. Yes. Any question? Yes, and I will now start with Ashanul. Any question or point? Ashanul,
I don't
can
have
you hear me?
question before.
Yes, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
What have you, how have you said?
Can you
Repeat
hear
it.
me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I'm listening,
I
Asha.
don't have a question still.
Okay, so everything is clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Aswan Boaz.
Well explained.
Well explained. Okay, that's nice. Everin Jerry. Everin? Everin, are we together? Everin. I think we have lost her, but I can still see she's online. Kimemia Hilda.
I'm okay.
Yes, Kimemia?
I'm
You're
okay.
yeah? Yes, Mohammed Sahara. Yes, okay. Mohammed Sahara.
I'm okay.
Yes, that's nice. Dirango Lita.
I'm okay.
Very okay. So now I want us now to have like a simple discussion on what we've just discussed. I want us now to have a scenario, and I want everybody to give his or her point on this particular discussion, and I want you now to listen to it clearly. I think I'm clear. Just assume that Kenya has closed its boundaries. Just assume Kenya has closed its international boundaries. Like for example, it closes the boundary with the Indian Ocean. It means that we not be trading with any country. What are some of the effects? Or what are some of the expected effects? You can you can use your audio, and you can still use the public chat that we have down there. So, and I'll start with Asha. What do you think will happen? Asha, what do you think will happen? Or some of the effects of such a decision?
Come up again, teacher.
Yes? I can't hear you. Repeat what you've said. Asha? Yes?
Teacher, come up again.
I'm asking, What if Kenya closes its boundaries such that it cannot trade with any country? What are likely effects of such? Yes, have you gotten me, Asha?
Yeah.
Yes, what are some of the effects? You
The
can give me one. Yes,
the
I'm
economic
waiting.
level of the country,
I think what will happen? Yes,
the economic level of the country will be lowered.
yes, there will be low level of economic activity in the country. Yes, because we are not trading. You are not trading. Yeah, so economic activity in the country will go down. That's good. Yeah, the next person in online is Aswan Boaz.
For me, the results are much practical even now. Like there'll be loss of market for some goods like flowers, and also like for me, a good example is flowers because as we see, for example, in this situation, we're not
Yeah,
exporting any flower or so. So it has first led to loss of employment, and also
yeah,
it has also it's leading to collapse of some local industry and local talents and innovations and such.
yeah. That's very true. That's very true. The next person online is Everin Jerry. Jerry Everin, what do you think will be the effect of such a case? Everin, Everin. Uh, I think Everin is not there. Kimemia, Hilda.
So
What do you
there will be many innovations which will create employment.
local? Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, because we shall not be having items from outside. That's still okay. That's a good point. Thank you for that. Then the next person in line is Mohammed Fahala.
They won't get variety of product, hence there will be shortages in the country.
Yeah, there is a probability of having shortages in the country for the products that we cannot be able to produce locally to satisfy the local market. Then the last person is Dilango Rita.
There will be no exchange of foreign currency.
Okay, I can't hear you.
There will be no exchange of foreign currency.
Yes, yeah, we shall not be having what we call exchange of foreign currencies. Yes, there will be no exchange of foreign currency. Yeah, that is a good illustration of what would happen if a country closes its border. Then also we can also talk of there will be excess or surplus supply of commodities. Like we are not selling and we are not buying. So that means there will be excess or surplus production supply of commodities like tea, flowers, in which you cannot be able to consume locally. Then also the relationship between Kenya and other countries will worsen. There will be no better relationship, or the relationship between Kenya and other countries will not be enhanced because we are not trading with them. So those are some of the impacts or expected outcomes when the country is not trading or has closed its border with the other countries. So this is what I want us to do. I want us now to go offline, and when we go offline, I don't mean that we are leaving the class. I have opened a discussion chat. In that chat, I've raised a question. I'll post a question in the chat, and then through the chat, I want um, each and every one of you to give his or her opinion. But before that, I want maybe to hear any question that may be coming from any of you. Any question? Is there any question on it, the sales? It's outdated technology in another country. That is another bit of international trade. The other one is also another advantage is that it will encourage the growth of local industries. It's because there will be no external or foreign firms which will be selling products locally. It means that there will be a lot of growth of local industries. Sahala, I think I've answered your questions.
Yes.
Okay. I have seen Oduol Achieng amekuja. Achieng. Achieng. Okay, it seems that we can't see her. So anybody with a question before we retreat to the chat or the chat? Anybody with a question before we retreat to the chat? So that means that all of you have okay. Let's now retreat to the chat. Then that the chat will also compose part of the attendance. There's someone who asked me how I will be taking the attendance. I will also be looking at your participation in the chats. Yeah. So let's go to the chats. Let's retreat to the chats.